It's supposed to be a mirror image.
We can start over if you want.
Can we read? Oh, we're live!
Nah.
Crap.
Happens all the time.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Atheist Experience. We are live. I'm your host, Matt Delaney. Joining me this week, Martin Wagner.
Howdy.
Let's talk about something relevant that ties into belief, and that is there's an incident in the past week where this gentleman walked into a Unitarian Universalist church and opened fire. Now, before we get into that, I'd already found out about it and read it just as soon as the news was posted. It's
ghastly.
This is one of those things where you'd rather you didn't read it, and not just because of the tragedy that occurred. A couple people died, several more were injured, but because you know that somebody is going to make something of this that it's not. And one of the things that happened was somebody posted on a blog here related to the Austin American Statesman with a number of questions that were kind of anti-atheist. And one of the questions, excuse me, was, didn't somebody just walk into a church and kill several people? Didn't some atheist just walk into a church and kill several people? And I had to respond immediately, no. No, that's not what happened. I don't know what his religion is. I don't know whether he's an atheist or Muslim or Christian or whatever. It doesn't really matter, because what we know about his motivations, even if he was an atheist, his atheism isn't in any way responsible for this. What he was an extreme ultra-conservative who had been listening to anti-liberal talking heads and had developed, along with a bunch of other problems, a hatred for liberals.
And gays and anything, so he had the laundry list of right-wing hate. His
hatred for liberals was based on their support for women's rights and gay rights.
Right.
And this particular church, which is a Unitarian Universalist, which, by the way, would have been full of atheists, agnostics, secular humanists, other deists, spiritual deists, whatever. And he walked in, and by the way, they were targeted because they were supporting gay rights and women's rights and had a sign out in front of the church saying gays welcome.
Yeah,
so
they were welcoming gays into their congregation.
Kill them.
Yeah.
And of course, one older man, and I have no idea what his religious beliefs are, because I don't think they're relevant, stood in front of him while he opened fire with the shotgun and took the blast so that other people could get out. Yet, what happens? Guy walks into a church and kills people, must have been an atheist. Screw you. Yeah. Your self-righteousness is absolutely appalling. You're portraying this, your real prejudice, which is that religious people are good, atheists are bad. And you betrayed it further when you said, when your other question was, aren't our jails full of atheists? No, as a matter of fact, they're not. Atheists are generally underrepresented in prison, but you know what? I don't cite that as a statistic about atheist superiority for two reasons. One, because it's not, and two, because the statistics may be skewed because a lot of people find religion in prison, and that skews the statistics. Nothing better than to go before the parole board and portray the same stereotype that you're using to slander us.
Yeah, this is jailhouse conversions.
Yeah,
and I've always found it interesting. It is only ever the theists and the Christians and the believers who care about this whole sort of numbers game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, well, who's killed more people, or who's got more represented in prison, or who's got the higher divorce rate or something, which would be Christians.
Muslims got you beat.
Yeah. So I've never really, and I've never used it as an atheist, except of course to counter falsehoods that religious people make to me, saying, "Oh, well, there's more atheists in prison." Well, no, they're not. I mean, the prison population, among those numbers who are committed, who are outspoken atheists or who self-identify as atheists, it's about 1%.
Yeah.
Compared to something like 6 or 7% in the general population. So you're right. It's even so you get fewer atheists among the general prison population than among the overall population. But I don't go out there flogging those numbers as a way to see, and that's why atheism's cooler.
Yeah.
Because it's irrelevant. It's about the facts, and it's about the ideas, it's about the evidence, it's about what you can prove, it's about how you can support concepts that you have chosen to believe in, i.e. there is a God, there is a heaven, there's a Jesus watching over me, there's this, there's that. Because another situation we just had this week was an evangelical minister who was arrested in his church for murdering his wife.
Wasn't his church. He was doing a revival.
He was doing okay, yeah, he's one of these itinerant guy, goes all around.
Yeah.
You see, he was given a sermon, and then he was arrested. But what he'd done was he'd killed his wife and chopped her up and put her in the freezer.
I don't know that he chopped her up or not.
Well, he put her in the freezer. However he had to fit her in the freezer, he did it that way. And the reason he killed his wife was because his wife tried to interfere when he was abusing their child. And this guy had apparently a really good reputation on the revival circuit as a great evangelical minister. And so again, where was his sort of superior moral?
Yeah, well, see, like the prison statistic, I'd never bring it up to show any kind of moral superiority with atheism. When we talked about the Journal of Religious Studies results showing that the more religious a culture is, the less its societal health rating is, and we pointed out repeatedly that what we're talking about there is correlation and not causation. We're not saying necessarily that religion causes societies to erode, though that may be the case. And I would never bring up this guy who killed his wife and say, look what Christianity makes you do. Look what being a Christian does.
Yeah.
Because it's absurd. This guy is an evil, sick predator who liked to have sex with his daughters and killed his wife. I don't care what his religion is. What I will say, though, is that it seems clear to me that if he was sincere in his beliefs, they didn't do anything to stop him. If he was not sincere, nobody seems to have been able to detect that. There didn't seem to be any message from gods or angels to come down and say, psst, your pastor's raping his daughters and killed his wife. No, people just kept showing up, thought he was a nice, wonderful man of God.
Yeah.
Seems to me, and I'm not saying that this makes God impossible or untrue, or that these people weren't Christians.
But it would go a long way to shut up the atheists of the world if God had actually swooped down and said, excuse me, what are you doing delivering a sermon in my name, trying to claiming that you represent me, when you did this?
Yeah.
It
certainly seems like a problem.
Consider yourselves, was it smited, smitten?
Yes.
It wouldn't be smitten.
Smite button. It's right next to the drop button.
The smite, yeah. I smite thee, because that's a cool God thing to do when your God is you can smite. So, I mean, that would have, been a really great opportunity for God to have,
Well, the first response, if you were to say, look, here's a Christian pastor who did something evil. So what? There's lots of them that have done that.
Yeah.
And the first response from apologists is, well, then he wasn't a true Christian. Oh, how convenient.
Yes.
You thought he was a true Christian right until the sermon was over and they carted his ass out to jail. Now, by the way, we should say alleged in all this because it's not like he's been convicted yet.
No. I mean, it could very well have been someone else who was in his house putting his wife.
And wouldn't that be cool if he actually isn't guilty and they demonstrate that he's not guilty, and then all these people who thought he was a good pastor and then said, oh my gosh, I'm so shocked, clearly blah, 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 and then now he's acquitted and you find out he didn't do it. See, we knew all along he was a good man of God. It's a win-win-win-win-win situation for the